Hello and welcome to my second case study. So the first term that we have is interpersonal conflict, and this is just when a relationship between two parties becomes strained because there's a misalignment in the needs of the people involved or their opinions or their goals. They're just not connecting or aligning, and sometimes this can cause tension between um, people involved in a relationship, and this is what causes the interpersonal conflict. So, an example of this is when Glenn and Stevie, their relationship, Stevie thinks that Glenn is acting differently. She's perceiving his behavior as different than what she expected it to be, and so her goals and her needs, more specifically, are not being met. Her marriage goals are not being met, and her need for communication is not being met by Glenn. Next, we have gunny sacking, and so this is just essentially dumping all of your issues against your partner that you have with your partner all at once. So this is also seen between Stevie and Glenn. Stevie waited a while, about 6 weeks, before she came forward with her issues to Glenn. And when she finally did, she started listing a bunch of things rather than just the initial issue from the beginning. So when she was just kind of unloading and listing all of her issues with Glenn at one time, that was an example of gunny sacking. Excuse me. Next, we have de-escalation, and that essentially is just lowering the stakes of the environment, calming the energies of all the parties involved in the argument or the conflict. So, for example, when Stevie begins to gunny sack with Glenn, Glenn kind of takes a minute and he moves them from the kitchen where they were talking into the couch. So just switching that environment got Stevie to just kind of catch her breath and gather her thoughts as she started to unload all of her issues with Glenn. Okay, next we have accommodating, and this is just a technique that you can use to resolve conflict, and it usually involves one party giving something up in order to account for the other parties for their benefit. So an example of this would be Stevie wanting Glenn to communicate, and Glenn does this, so therefore he is accommodating Stevie. He realizes that Stevie would appreciate more communication from him, and so he agrees to communicate in the way that she asks in order to accommodate for her needs. Then we have avoiding, and avoiding is just essentially ignoring the problem or evading the conflict. You try to go around it, you don't really want to deal with it, you just kind of suppress the issues. And so this is seen again by Stevie when she did not confront Glenn with the issues for the first 6 weeks. For those 6 weeks that she was having the troubles with him, the interpersonal conflict, she was just avoiding the issue. She was not doing anything on her part to bring it up to Glenn. Then we have compromising, and that is just two or more parties coming to agreeable terms. And most of the time, both parties gain something, but they also lose something. So, for example, if you have you and your sibling are fighting about where you guys want to eat. Maybe you want to eat burgers and your sibling wants pizza, and then your mom decides to compromise and take you to a buffet where they serve both. So both parties, you and your siblings, you guys win, you do gain. You get to eat what you were wanting to, the burger or the pizza. However, maybe you didn't get your favorite pizza from your favorite pizza restaurant, or your favorite burger that you were wanting in the first place. So you lost that, but you did have a small gain. So that would be compromising. And then we have constructive conflict. And a constructive conflict is a conflict that results in the relationship being better. So this whole conflict between Stevie and Glenn is an example of a constructive conflict. Because they had this problem, they were able to discuss it and address it. Their relationship became stronger because they now were able to get on the same page and agree to the terms of what marriage essentially means for both of them involved and how their relationship should reflect that moving forward. So because their relationship did benefit from this issue, then it was constructive conflict. And then we have interpersonal power, and this is just how much a person is able to affect another one's ideas or opinions or actions. So for example, say you're wearing an outfit and you ask your mom for her opinion, and then you ask your sister for her opinion. So maybe your mom might not care for your outfit. She might give it a couple of critiques that you might, just shrug off. However, if your sister were to give you critiques on your outfit, maybe you might be a little bit inclined to listen to her in this scenario. So in this situation, your sister would have more interpersonal power than your mother would, because your mother didn't necessarily affect your actions. You're still wearing the same outfit. Whereas your sister, her opinion did persuade you to change your shoes or your belt or what have you. So her influence was greater on you than your mom's was, therefore she has a greater interpersonal power. Okay, and then we have abdicratic power orientation, and that essentially is just when you're more comfortable releasing your power, relinquishing it to someone else, letting someone else call the shots for you. So this is shown in student athletes a lot of the time, or in any athlete really. They relinquish their power, they give up their power to their coach. They're subordinate. They acknowledge that the coach has the right to dictate how they should practice, how they should move on the field or the court, depending on the sport that it is. This would demonstrate an abdicratic power orientation. Then we also have power currency, and that is just being able to manipulate the outlets that control valuable resources. So for example, your boss at your job is able to control your position there. They're able to, for example, control your pay and give you promotions if they see fit. So because they have this power, you are more likely to be receptive of their instruction. When they tell you to do something, you're most likely not going to be hesitant or reliant to follow the orders, because you know that they have the power over you, the power to give you that raise or not. Then we have referent power, and that is just being able to affect people because you have something that they deem as valuable. And a lot of this time, this can be things that are considered superficial, like beauty or success or fame. If you're perceived to own these qualities that people think are valuable, that they want to possess themselves, then more often than not, you're able to influence those around you. So for example, we see this a lot right now, especially with social media and social media influencers. So if you look at the Kardashians, for example, they're often referred to as the beauty standards. They kind of created the beauty standards for today, and that power that they have for their beauty and their success is able to influence the actions of the public. So for example, if they talk about wearing a certain designer or a certain lipstick color, then the public often copies them and tries to mimic them because of their success and their beauty that's perceived. Okay, and then we have I statements. And so those are just expressing your wants and needs and values um, through using the word I, and that's just putting the focus on yourself and taking the focus away from your partner. It's emphasizing on your needs. So, for example, we see Stevie doing this when she expresses to Glenn, like, I need to know, or I would like to know what you're up to and when you're making plans. So that was her communicating her needs with I statements to Glenn. Okay, and then we have dual perspective. So that is just the ability to sympathize and empathize, just understand the point of view of your communication partner, whoever it is that you're speaking with. So you have to be able to recognize not only your ideas, but the ideas of the person that you're speaking with or communicating with. So an example of this is when they are expressing to each other, Stevie and Glenn are expressing their ideas of marriage or definitions of marriage. So listening to each other and being able to understand their own ideas of marriage as well as their partner's ideas of marriage, that would be a dual perspective, because they're not only seeing marriage from their own experiences, but also through the experiences and ideas of their partner. And then we have integrity, and that basically says that your actions have to align with your beliefs. So, for example, if part of your integrity is believing that honesty is the best policy, is the best course of action, you yourself have to be an honest person. You will not have very much integrity if you claim to value honesty, but you are cheating on your tests, cheating at work to get ahead, using other people's works, but putting your name on it. That is not reflective of integrity, because your actions do not support your beliefs. And then we have moral absolutism. So moral absolutism just refers to morality being very black and white. There is a fine line that separates what is acceptable and what is not acceptable when it comes to moral absolutism. And the morals are very clearly defined on either side of what is right and wrong. So an example of this is that stealing is wrong no matter what circumstances. Moral absolutism does not account for the case-by-case basis that one might encounter. It just looks at the action itself as either being moral or not. So in this case, stealing would be viewed as wrong, regardless if you were stealing a pack of gum or if you were, stealing from a bank and robbing them blind for $1 million. Regardless of the scale of it, it was wrong. Okay, and then to contrast that, we have moral relativism. And this allows for the specifics of the case to influence our judgments of morality. So, for example, if you think about stealing again, you could think about a person that was being selfish, that had means to pay for food, but just chose not to. They just wanted to go in and take it for no reason, as opposed to someone that might have been trying to steal some eggs or a loaf of bread to feed their children. So we can see the circumstances surrounding each scenario, and we can deem them as appropriate or not. It's most likely that we will forgive, the single mother that was trying to steal bread to feed her kids versus someone that was stealing pointless things just for the thrill of it. Okay, and then we have duty to disclose. So this is just the expectation that we have to be honest about certain things that can affect our relational partner. So, for example, Stevie and Glenn did agree early on in their relationship to discuss any issues that they might have. And this was the expectation that Glenn had of Stevie. He expected her to be honest with him about any tension that she might see in their relationship. So that was Stevie's duty to be honest and forthcoming with Glenn, but she was not able to do that successfully. So she did not disclose when it was appropriate. She waited until much later. Excuse me. And then we have relational transgression. It's just any immoral behavior that was inflicted on someone else that causes damage to their feelings or hurt their emotions. So, for example, we can look at back again to stealing. If a family member were to steal from you, so obviously it's a transgression because it's immoral, but it's even more personal because this person was a trusted family member, and so for that reason, you don't think the stealing as just somebody random on the street. It's a little bit more personal, and your feelings are more affected by it than if it were to be some random person on the street. And then we have deception. Deception is just intentionally, purposefully presenting false information with the intent to mislead the person. So, for example, maybe one night you want to go to a party with your friends, but you don't tell your mom that you're going to a party because you know she's not going to allow you. You just tell her that you're going to go stay the night with your friends. And she sees you leave, you know, your friends pick you up, you have your overnight bag, and you're dressed in your pajamas and comfy clothes, and you tell your mom that you're going to stay the night at a friend's house. The impression that you're giving to your mom is an act of deception because you are trying to demonstrate one behavior as, you know, going to sleep over and relax, but your true intentions are not. You know, your mom doesn't know that in the duffel bag you have extra pair of clothes to change into to go out to the party. So you're purposely misleading your mom and giving her false information to make her think a certain idea that's not the truth. Okay, and then we have civility, which is a basic level of respect that is expected by society for us to have towards one another. So, for example, if you have a disagreement with someone at an establishment, you are expected to maintain civil behavior. You know, it's not acceptable for you to physically attack the person. You will have to remain civil and give the person the respect of not getting physical with them and not raising your voice at them. You will have to communicate in a respectful manner. Okay, and then lastly we have deceptive affection. So this would just be a disconnection between your real feelings and the feelings that you express to somebody. So, for example, you might be mad at your boyfriend for something that they did to you, but instead of expressing your anger whenever you see him, you give him a hug and a kiss. So those are expressing feelings of emotion, and those do not match up with your real feelings of negativity towards him, your unpleasantness that you have towards him because of whatever issue it was that made you upset. There's a misalignment between the feelings that you're showing and the feelings that you feel inside. Okay, so those are my terms for the second case study, and thank you for watching.